Even at a community level, we have structures, decentralization structures, in the form of VDCs, in the form of ADCs. And at the school level, you are talking about governance structures. If these structures are not accorded the space that they ought to occupy, then you would expect that they will not be in a position to fully participate in the decision-making processes at different levels. So all we are saying is that as a country, we can forge ahead, we can make significant progress, we can make sure that every actor accounts for his action and omissions. If these entities are well regulated and are given the space in which they can express their opinion, and in so doing participate in the public life that we all need to converge at.
Thank you so much. Well, it's amazing that I was about to remind you that you are running out of time, but then you had 1 minute left. Hopefully we're going to add that to your slot in the course of our discussion. Now, when you were giving your points, I saw Mr. Muhone scribbling down a number of points, and I was like, wow, it's going to be hot in here. I think I has got a lot to respond to what you've said. I have, I think, captured one important thing from your opening statement about the shrinking civic space in Malawi. I don't know whether Mr. Muhone is going to agree with you. You've also talked about state capture, where some civil side organizations, NGO leaders, well, they've been given maybe positions and such other things. You've also talked about the amendment to the NGO Act, which has brought in a number of perhaps what you see as restrictions, then about legislation fees and such other things. Now, Mr. Muhone, your opening statement, I don't know whether it's going to be a direct response to what Mr. Kondowe has said, but well, it's your time anyway.
Thank you very much. I should agree with Mr. Kondowe on the fact that we need every sector to be well regulated. That one is an overarching issue, because if a sector is not well regulated, its contribution to national development cannot be seen. So, in as far as I'm concerned, Malawi has been transitioning and from one-party system to multi-party system, and from one regime to another. We have seen gains by moving from one regime to another. One of the opportunity that comes with change of leadership of government is the open space that you have during the first year or the first 2 years. I think that one is alluded to the maturity of our democracy in Malawi. Malawi is one of the few countries that has changed presidents frequently. And that is an indication that there is a free space in Malawi. People are able to express their opinion, either through a ballot box or through a justice system, or indeed just a freedom of expression. I'm going back to where I sit, the issue of regulation, the issue of monitoring NGOs. What we have in Malawi, as far as the NGO sector is concerned, is what we call self-regulation, allowing NGOs to regulate themselves and move on. All other sectors, including the media, is government regulated. That's why we have MACRA and others. But the NGO sector, since independence, has been thriving on self-regulation. Back then, that was the best model of operating, because looking at the statistics, in 1994, we had very few NGOs in Malawi, less than 50. But moving on, NGOs have been increasing. And therefore, with this increase in number of NGOs, and as well as increase in the resources that are flowing through NGOs, more especially taking the fact that in 2013 we messed up, we messed ourselves through Capitol Hill, and because of Cashgate, donors promised openly that we will not leave Malawians alone. We will still help them, but we will help them through NGOs. That one had opened up a door that more resources are now flowing through NGOs. And therefore, with these two changes, number of NGOs growing, because the register of Kongoma as we speak now, it is 1,350 NGOs. In 1994, they were below 50. They have grown. The number has grown. In our case, as NGO board, every NGO is supposed to submit the audit reports. The few that we receive, and if we add up, extrapolate it, you find that huge resources are flowing through NGOs as I speak, and I speak this every time without a blink of an eye. NGOs spend 1 trillion kwacha a year. If we say NGOs or civil society, we are talking of NGOs that are in the advocacy, who mostly they don't have much money. And we have NGOs that are into service delivery. They have huge monies. In our case, the law doesn't allow that we should separate. You are an NGO, you are an NGO. You are a civil society, you are a civil society, because we are regulating a sector. So with that growth, government is moving towards taking over, regulating the civil society space with one purpose: to align all the efforts towards the development agenda. If you look at the Malawi Growth Development Strategy Review Report, it clearly indicates that we have not moved much on our indicators, because most of the sectors, and high on there, is the NGO sector is not well regulated. So, government, in summary, left the regulation of the civil society sector to themselves. But right now, government is saying, let's take over our space. So I would say the space is not much shrinking, but the space that was rented to civil society, the landlord has come to take over some of the rooms. Therefore, on that basis, government is saying, let's strengthen the NGO Act. Because the NGO Act in the current form gives more powers to the NGOs to regulate themselves. That was very ideal that time. But for now, let government take over the regulation, just like any other country. As I speak, there is no country in SADC region and beyond that is doing self-regulation. It's only Malawi that had that chance. Now, I see my time is going. Now, the question on the shrinking civil space should be, how are we utilizing the space? Because we, civil society, we might be shrinking the space ourselves. And the landlord is just coming in to say, no, 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 you are not taking care of my house. Let me occupy this room. So here we'll be talking about how are we, or how have we utilized the space in the first place. The space that was supposed to be occupied by government. In conclusion, because since independence to now, NGOs have never been regulated. They feel that once we start to regulate them, we are controlling them, we are policing them, or we are following them too much. That's not the case. What we are doing is just to follow the money that you mobilize on behalf of Malawians, because that money has to be monitored by government. By the way, you mobilize those resources saying you are going to complement the efforts of government. And therefore, the complementer wishes to know how you are going to complement. I think that's the underlying.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhone. He's saying government is simply reclaiming its space in regulating civil society organizations in the country. Quite interesting. Akuti sikuti akufinyani. Akungofuna alondoloze kuti ndalama zimene malandira on behalf of Malawians kuyenda bwanji. I hope Mr. Kondowe is going to come back to that. There are a number of points which I've captured from your opening statement, Mr. Muhone, which I will return to in the course of our discussion. But now let me open the space to members of our audience. Let's start with Mr. Makumbo Montali, governance expert. You've heard opening statements from Mr. Kondowe, Executive Director of Civil Society Education Coalition, and Mr. Muhone, Chief Executive Officer of the Non-Governmental Organizations Board of Malawi. Mr. Montali, in 5 minutes, what would be your response to both panelists?
Thank you so much for these insightful thoughts from both panelists. And I was just taking some notes on some key points that I found really important. I think one of them was the issue around regulation, self-regulation versus government regulations. I think one of the critical issues, I think, in debates, it's if government is regulating, to what extent should government regulate the civil society? And where we're talking about self-regulation, does government provide a conducive environment where but bodies that are supposed to anchor that self-regulations are well supported to carry out such a particular role? So, for example, when you look at the issue around self-regulation, Mr. Kondowe talked about the issue around the NGO amendment bill. I think one of the issues that is coming out in that amendment bill is the issue of removing Kongoma as a coordinating role which was actually in the act, which borders well with what I had earlier talked about on the issue of self-regulation, where NGOs feel they are more well regulated by their own Kongoma, which is able to do better than the NGO board, which in their view seems to be a bit compromised or maybe aligned to the interest of the government of the day. But then on the government regulation, I talked about the issue of to what extent should government regulate. Definitely the issues around accountability, the monies that come in the country are the monies that are the taxpayers' money from the different countries, I mean the foreign countries that are coming there. So definitely you would want to see NGOs being accountable in how they're handling their money. But then the issue maybe comes in situations whereby you have maybe some NGOs that are misappropriating the funds, and then you have got some that are doing it good accountability, but then maybe a body that is supposed to regulate the NGOs, the government body, begins to generalize and say all NGOs are messing up funds. So maybe that becomes an issue around whether that regulatory body, in terms of maybe the motives that it has, is it really to ensure that these NGOs are accountable? Maybe there's a certain agenda that it wants to advance. So those are some of the issues. And then there is issue around image. I've always said the NGO board, what it has really struggled, it's an issue around image. It's an issue that has, when you go around, when you look at how the different regimes have come, you find that they have tended actually to turn it into maybe like a tool to advance attacks on certain NGOs, particularly those that are in the democratic governance space, those that are in advocacy. I think we have had cases whereby maybe after a particular advocacy initiative which was holding government accountable by certain NGOs, we hear that maybe the NGO board or maybe the minister coming out clearly to say we are deregistering these particular organizations. So the role of NGO board, for example, Mr. Moni talked rightly about the issue of how the NGO board can help in terms of ensuring that NGOs are aligning to the relevant developmental agendas of government like MGDS 3, SDGs and all that. I think that's an area that maybe NGO board may not have done much because I think the image when you go out there is that NGO board is there to police, because it has in most cases found itself actually giving a voice at the expense of maybe the government of the day's agenda. I liked what he said, Mr. Amhon, on the opening of spaces with the change of governments. To say, we have had different governments. Every government, when it comes, the first maybe 1 year, second year, you see them being collaborative, engaging the civil society, trying to say we are there to work with you. I have seen, for example, maybe through the office of the presidential advisors. Previously, there was Mafuto Bamusi. First days engaged NGOs. Now we have Martha Kwataine. First days engaging NGOs. Okay. So what you see is you have those false starts. Okay. Which later on you find that they begin now to change along the way where we begin now to see the narratives. So when you look at the relationship between now the state and the NGO, you find this is what we call now ambivalent relationship, where it's more about rhetoric, what Mr. Gondo was talking about, the government trying to show as if it's going to abide by the law, but then at the end of the day, you find that they begin to do something different. So maybe it's an area that I would say all governments need really to work on. The issue around how are we utilizing the space?
You should be winding up.
Yes,
your time is running out.
I like the question around how are we utilizing the space. I think that's a good question maybe to all NGOs in terms of utilizing the space. Okay, there's an aspect where the space is shrinking, which maybe as a result of government-owned initiatives, but at the very same time there are also areas where the space is shrinking because of CSO's own making. We have had cases whereby maybe some NGOs themselves voluntarily begin to be used by government of the day. Okay, we have had such cases. So I'll definitely say it's an issue that we need to look at in terms of how are we demonstrating the results, the impact that the NGOs are making in different work that we're doing. We have service delivery NGOs. We have got those that are into activism. Okay, in terms of the impact, how are we demonstrating the results? I think that's also another critical issue that I think for NGOs they need also maybe to look at critically.
Thank you very much. I hope that members of the audience will also be able to pose questions to our panelists up front here. So if you have questions, you can keep them. We'll go to a break, but before we do that, I want to get one more contribution from a member of the audience, 5 minutes. Then after that, we are going for a break, a very brief one. Then if you have questions, you're going to pose them to our panelists. At the start, immediately after the break, our panelists are also going to respond to some of the issues which have been raised from either side or even from you, members of the audience. So, yes to you, sir. May you introduce yourself before you present your points.
Thank you so much. My name is Kalibu Ngombo, and I work for a local organization here in Malawi known as People Saving Girls at Risk, and I've been around in the NGO sector for quite a long time. But for the purposes of this debate, I think allow me to speak in Chichewa.
Yeah, very free.
Thank you so much. Ineyo kwambiri ndikuona bengati kuti mwina akondowe amini amhoni afotokoza bwino kunena kuti maboma osiyana-siyana akhala kubwera ndi maboma aja akamabwera aliwonse amakhala ndi zinthu zawo, komanso afotokoza kunena kuti for quite a long time ma NGOs akhala asakupangidwa regulate. Fundo imene ilipo kuma NGOs isenkhani yonena kuti regulation kapena kuti asapange regulate kapena kuti musatipange regulate. Regulation ndi yabwino kwina kuli konse chifukwa ndimene imapereka mlozo ndondomeko kunena kuti anthufe tikuyenda bwanji. Mafotokoza ma statistics kunena kuti pofikisana tsiku la lero according to Kongoma Malawi munomwe muli about 1350 CSOs. Komanso ndifuna ndikudziwitseni kuti in England alone by now there are about 28,000 registered charities, and that should not be an issue. Okay, that should not be an issue. Ngati nalipo 50 in 1994, lero tabanga grow to 1,350. That must not be an issue. Issue ikhalionena kuti mmene ndikuonera ineyo m'maganizo mwanga. Ena amakamba kuti when people have nothing they fight over nothing. So ine ndikuona kuti chifukwa chonena kuti mess imene inachitika 2013 kuti kunali makashgate kapena kuti cashgate inalulika kwambiri bwino 2013 ndisinapanga kuti trust ichoke kuboma ipite kumachani kuma NGOs. Trust imeneyo kuchoka kwa trust kumene kuja kubweretsa confrontation chifukwa mutati muone mmene mwakambira inuyo apa ndi mmene akambira akondowe apa inu mukuoneka kuti you are very confrontational, okay, very confrontational, and we are still stuck in the old ways of doing things. And if indeed ngati tingamayuze ma statement awawo onena kuti the landlord has come, government says it wants to take its space, I think we are on a very dangerous course. Okay, this we must say, this is a very dangerous course, it's a very dangerous path, and we must avoid this as much as possible. Tigwire ntchito ngati tonse kunena kuti we are complementing partners, because like you have observed, NGOs exist to complement government's efforts. NGOs are doing a lot. Panopo tili ma cases are rape and defilement. Okay, how do you expect women to contribute in this civic space if they continue to be raped, if they continue to be defiled? It means that you are gagging them. Sangalankhule, how do you expect the elders to speak, to contribute when they are being tortured? Sangatani, sangalankhule, tikwapanga chani, tikwapanga gagi. So let's also appreciate kuti ma NGOs, whether small, whether a big organization, akupanga contribute kwambiri kunena kuti anthu akhale omasuka, akupanga contribute kwambiri kuti dziko linolo likhale lotani, likhale lotukuka. Mafizi amene akunenedwa apa pazanga kondowa fotokoza bwino kuti mafizi aja ndi chinthu chimene ndithu chikuopseza ndithu every day, even including on Saturdays and Sundays, we keep getting calls from your office, okay, telling us lelo loti mati mutumize ndalama. Is that a professional way of doing things? So tikuoneka kuti ndithu tikukhala chani, tikukhala confrontational. Komene my humble request is kuti yes, government side must appreciate the fact that ma NGOs agwira ndithu ntchito ndithu yotamandika, anditakha kuti tosefe takumana pa tebulo yabwino ndikukambirana bwino, tigwirizana chitsogolo kunena kuti tiyenda motani kuti titukule dziko linolo. Ndiudindo ndithu wathu atosefe, it is a collective responsibility.
Thank you so much. Zikomo kwambiri, very passionate about your points, about your opinions. Thank you very much. That's the essence of the debate. Like I said before, we are going to go for a small break. After that, from the audience particularly, ziyankidwe ndi ma panelists athu. Ndi ma panelists athu so ayankanaso kauka from their opening statements kuti kodi akutipo bwanji. Tipo makayi pang'ono, then tibwereranso. Welcome back to Times Debate on Times Television and Times Radio. I should also mention here again that this debate is coming your way courtesy of Civil Society Education Coalition, Csec. And our discussion today centers on the shrinking of civic space in Malawi. The theme is Detriments to the civic space in Malawi. Chiopsezo chimene anthu ufulu ogwira ntchito oyankhula opanga interact mosiyanasiyana chilipo akuti zimenezi zimatha kuopseza ntchito zosiyanasiyana kuphatikizapo zimene zikhoza kusintha miyoyo ya anthu komanso mmene ndale zikuyendera. Ndiye tikupita ku break nanena kuti ma panelists athu, I want them to respond to some of the sentiments which have been presented by members of our audience, and also those that have been made by the opposing side. I don't know whether that's the correct terminology, but let's start with Mr. Kondowe, Executive Director of Civil Society Education Coalition. Mwamvatu zatuluka amuhone ayankhulapo komanso palienaso ayankhula from our audience in 4 minutes. Munena kuti chani?
Okay, I would like to make 4 points. First of all, I think the issue of self-regulation is being expressed here. There was an indication that it is only the NGO sector that is self-regulated. That is not correct. We have the legal profession, which is regulated by Malawi Law Society. We also have the Medical Society of Malawi. So I think the example which has been given here would not support that claim. It is not just the NGO sector that is self-regulated. So I think we need to put our discussion in a proper context to look at what are the salient issues that we need to deal with. There's also been a claim that we have more NGOs than there were before 1994. That is a fact. But I guess we should also understand that in 1994, the few NGOs that we had were all fully operational. So if we had 50 NGOs, they were all fully operational, running different programs across the country, which is currently not the case. The statistics that have been provided here of 1,150, in terms of operation, I would challenge you that less than 70% of these NGOs are operational. What it means is that we have so many NGOs that are operational on paper and they have no running programs on the ground. So I think these are issues that we need to deal with. The third point is, if you look at the NGO Act and appreciate the mandate of the NGO board, apart from the issue of regulation, there is also another bit which is focusing on capacity building. Now, if we were to say that government is finding it difficult to regulate the NGOs, my question is, what capacities has the NGO board provided since its creation? I think this is fundamental, because you should not just look at regulation without looking at the inherent capacities that the NGOs need to have in order for them to discharge their mandate. That takes me to the next issue, which is on audit. Audit is a statutory requirement under the NGO Act, which means that by the end of each financial year, every NGO is supposed to dispose or deposit the financial or annual return to the NGO board. Now, if some NGOs are not depositing the annual return with the NGO board, that is the responsibility of the NGO board to deal with those entities. But the claim that we have here is as if all NGOs are not contributing anything to the development of this country. I think this is unfortunate, because we know in any sector that you may think about, in the education, in the health, even in the education, 2/3 of the primary schools that we have in this country do not belong to government. We also have maybe 3, 4 public universities, but how many private universities do you have? So the point that I'm making here is that we must underscore the fact that we are where we are today because of the NGOs. And therefore, the responsibility of government should be to make sure that they harness a cordial operating environment where NGOs can flourish, where the NGOs can harness their capacity so that they remain true complementers of government. I think that is where we need to be looking at. Finally, just to agree with sentiments from the audience, that when you bring the connotation of a landlord in a discussion like this one, it makes the debate more sensitive and also more fluid in terms of appreciating whether both entities would opt to have a cordial working relationship. Because we know, even under law of contract, when the landlord chooses to exercise powers that are vested in him, he can do that which the tenant may not like. And in most cases, the tenant is in a disadvantaged position to the landlord. I think that is not the interplay that we want to see here. We would want government to regulate the NGOs, whilst at the same time affording them the opportunity to work to their optimum capacity. And I think that's the point that I want to underscore. In conclusion, all I'm saying is that the claims from different sectors in this country are not to the fact that they should not be regulated. Regulations are good, and societies are built together through regulations. But the sticky issue is, how can we best regulate the sectors to make sure that they are able to utilize their capacities in order to contribute to the national development.
Thank you very much. You've run out of time. Like I said, you're going to be given more time in the course of our discussion. It appears sentiments by Mr. Nkhani that the government is taking part, it's taking back its regulating role, and that the landlord is back. Hasn't gone down well with leaders of the civil society organizations. Well, a number of points have been raised, Mr. Nkhani, to do with facts, to do with what government is doing, whether CSOs are to blame for some of the acts which government is apparently failing to undertake, like the issue of demanding audits. What is your response to these?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me begin with responding to highlights that came now into details on the NGO Act amendment, the fees, and the policy. I would be missing a great opportunity if I don't tackle this debate within that context.
By the way, you have the 5 minutes which...
Yes, so the NGO Act Amendment Bill, the discussion started in 2016 that we should amend. Indeed, in 2018, it was presented to Parliament and an injunction came. And here, we are still talking about the NGO Act Amendment Bill 2018, which is not what is on the ground. What is on the ground now is NGO Act Amendment, Draft Amendment 2020, because government and Kongoma have had discussions. So there is a missing link within the civil society that they are not updating each other well. That's a thing. So the issue of penalties in the Act 2020, they are gone. The issues of imprisonment of executive director or board members, they are gone. So it has been polished up. So would urge the civil society, amongst yourself, update each other, and let's talk of current issues as they stand. The issue of fees, I know, is in court. It has been misquoted because small NGOs, not small NGOs, let me not call it that way, but an NGO whose income is below 100 million per year is paying 50,000 kwacha. So most of the NGOs in that bracket are moving around and saying we pay 2 million. That's not true. Look at what you pay and speak to what you pay. Stop there. An NGO whose income is between 500 million to 500 million up to 100 million, they pay 250,000 kwacha.
500 million up to, is it 1 billion?
No, from 100 million
okay, to 500
to
million.
500 million, you pay 250,000 kwacha. You look at 100 million is a big amount. Maximum of 500 million is huge. You only pay 250.
And that's annually?
Annually. then about 500 million to 2 billion, you pay 1 million. If your budget is above 2 billion, now you pay 2 million. So that's the category of the fees as we charge now. But everyone, even those NGOs whose annual income was 50 million, they claim to have paid 2 million. They didn't pay that money. They paid 50,000 kwacha. The NGOs who have income above 2 billion are indeed paying 2 million, and they are not complaining. Some of them, they come, they say, but this is just a token to us. So there have been a misconception built around the fees issue. Unfortunately, even us have not come out as clear as I am doing now. But we are going to popularize the issue of the fees. The NGO policy was launched, and the Civic was represented. They were given a signed copy to say, we have signed this policy, now you can go. Within the signed copy, there is no provision that says once the project has ended, the assets should be handed over to government. There is no that provision in the policy, guys. Where this is coming from, we are also wondering. What is in the policy that the NGO board, working together with the sector players, will develop guidelines on how the assets can be handed over? So I wanted to bring that perspective.
I should be winding up.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kondowe has mentioned of the issue of the audit, requirement of audit. We are about to publish the NGO reporting regulation, which is exempting NGOs whose income is less than 25 million a year from submitting the audit reports. And these regulations have been promulgated through a very consultative process. It's not being mentioned, but it is coming. So there is a relief that is coming. I would like to agree with Mr. Kondowe to say there is a lot that NGOs are doing, and indeed there is a lot. And they have done a lot. But the challenge is now the CV for the whole country, we haven't moved. If we look at the human development indicators, we are stuck. So we might have NGOs doing a lot, but as a country, because we need to move the country together. And the country should also be seen to be moving up. So whether other sector players are doing a lot and the like, but it is a fact that our human development index are stuck and the country is not moving much on the development arena.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mhone. I now go back to the audience for the last phase in terms of questions. Whoever has a question or a comment, 1 minute, and these are going to form part of what our panelists are going to respond to, and they will be finalizing the discussion. So if you have a question or a comment, in a minute, quickly, just in a minute, raise your question or a comment, then our panelists are going to respond to that.
Thank you. My name is Ian Wisik. I have some areas that which I wanted to raise, but still I'll talk in Chichewa so that everyone out there can listen to me. The first one is looking at the NGO, the word NGO. As you're looking at NGO board, you only look at the big NGOs, but we have got NGOs which are found in the rural communities, which they would also have to have this space. Their income is below what you call it below. To them, it is the maximum. How are you accommodating them? And they are on the same. If you look at the role of the NGO board, you said there is also capacity building. What do you do to build the capacity of these small NGOs to become big NGOs? Because that will also raise the rural participation. Secondly, we'll look at another issue of bureaucracy in government offices, like your office. For an NGO to be registered with your board, it means that they need to struggle. It might take maybe 6 to 7 months going to your offices so that an NGO can be registered. And the other thing is that this is also a concern.
You should be winding up.
Yes, thank you. It's also a concern in terms of you say there's about regulating. There is a difference between regulating and policing. Your office, it looks like now is turning into policing instead of regulation, because you regulate the things which are on the ground. And you just said you have supposed to do it in this way, not saying if you don't do this, we are going to do this. That is not regulating. That's my contribution.
Thank you.
If I have time, I'll also talk on others.
Thank you very much. I want this as the last part of the question time. Everybody should have an opportunity to speak. 1 minute, please. Stick to 1 minute. We don't have enough time.
I'm Kenneth Intago. I work with Young Voices. As moving forward, I was looking at issue to do with capacity building. I understand there are different departments that are registering NGOs or CBOs or youth organizations. How collaborative is your office to make sure that we speak one thing? Because we have got National Youth Council, which was established under National Youth Act. They also register youth organizations. They give that mandate that these youth organizations can operate on the ground based on their own registration. We have got the community, the gender office, where they register community-based organization as well. In that regard, looking at their source of income, they might go beyond 25 million, or they might go less than that. How best are you collaborating with these departments to make sure that every actor on the ground comply to the act, but at the same time, the policies and the documents that are coming forward indeed speak to the people that are working on the ground?
Thank you.
Very small question. Does the NGO board...
Your name once again?
My name is Kalibu Ngombo, from People Saving Girls at Risk. Does the NGO board, in its plan, have any intentions to lobby government to start providing subventions to CSOs, so that as you regulate, you do it with all that vigor, you stand on that ground to say tikupanganire grade chifanana kuti tikupatsaniso izi ngati mina mapangilaso maiko anzatu. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Makumbo.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to bring to your attention a study that my colleague Dr. Chingaipe was supposed to share with you. There are some key findings relating to the discussion that is coming in. It was commissioned by Megin. It has to do with the issue of law reform. I think one of the recommendations is that when we look at these issues around NGO amendment, because now I'm hearing that there is another amendment, NGO Amendment Bill 2020. The recommendation which is coming from this study is that we need to have a wholesome, a fully fledged law review, not just piecemeal reviews. And I would add to say maybe looking at the trust levels, the lack of trust that is there between the civil society and the NGO board, perhaps if the law commission could be involved to carry out a thorough law review of all laws regarding the NGO and come up with a proposed law, a proposed bill that can be brought to Parliament. Because looking from experience, the reviews that are done by the Law Commission, they benefit from a lot of research, actually appreciating different regimes from different countries, and also linking with international human rights treaties. So I would agree that we need to have a wholesome. I'm a bit concerned with the issue around that there is now another bill, because as you're aware, the 2018 bill is actually in court. The HRDC and Kongoma, I think HRDC took an injunction stopping the 2018 bill. And today we are hearing that there is another bill, 2020. And according to Mr. Mhoni, is blaming the Kongoma for not sharing the information to the rest of the civil society community, which I think, in my view, I feel it's a bit misplaced, because as NGO board, they have got a primary obligation to make sure that there is consultation whenever they are coming up, even issue of dissemination with the bill, because that was one of the critical issues that was there at the height of the 2018 NGO bill, to say there was lack of consultation. The number two, the last one, is on the NGO board. There was a recommendation on NGO board should incentivize compliance with Section 22 of the NGO Act rather than issuing of threats. Review Section 22 to ensure information provided is not used to discredit or verify NGOs. So there is the issue around the reporting of the audit reports and all that. I think the recommendation is that I think there has to be a way where NGO board should be able to encourage NGOs to do, rather than going out there in the public and begin to shame CSOs and generalize that the whole CSO community is rotten. I think that is an issue. And lastly, it's issue around image building. I think it's critical that we need NGO board, definitely. We need NGO board, but I think it need to do a lot of image building, so that it can have that trust from the NGO sector. So at the end of the day, even when it is able to come to provide even capacity building issues around the linkages with the development agendas, I think the NGO sector will be able to say this is our own. But I think at the current state, it's still in a situation whereby it needs a lot of rebranding and image building. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Makumbo. Now we are going towards the end of our discussion, and the closing statements are going to come from both panelists. Let's start with Mr. Mhoni. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time, so 3 minutes will be ideal, I think, for you to close your arguments. Then after that, Mr. Kondowe is also going to be allocated the same number of minutes, 3 minutes, to wind up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just run down. I will not give the closing remarks. I thank Csec for the first time involving us. They have been meeting aside and the issues coming out, which we really needed a space like this to make them straight. So we appreciate that one. Keep on like that. The issue of us only looking at big NGOs, there is actually a regulation that we are consulting on, the partnership between local and international. So that's a step that NGO board has taken, so that the locals don't remain the only giants on the ground. The issue of capacity building, if you have seen that sometimes Kongoma and the NGO board, they are not in good books, it's because of this issue. It is within the NGO Act that we should be building the capacity. Actually, it's an objective. First objective is that one. But Kongoma is saying, this is our job. Don't do capacity building. So we tried to do a bit of a capacity building through accountability conferences, bringing in best practices from Europe. But we were told, no, this is not your space. But we can sit down with Kongoma and see how we can ensure that the capacity of the locals is built, because there is a road that is indeed lacking, and they are also missing a lot of opportunity. Because within this 1 trillion Malawi Kwacha budget a year, you would see that it's more with the bigger NGOs. So the inequality is just too huge. The issue of, yes, I've addressed the capacity building. Incentive is also an objective. Once we build up ourselves as NGO board, as well as the sector builds it up, we can go to government and say, let's have subvention. I don't think that can be much of a problem, because most of the NGOs right now, the big ones, are getting subventions through duty-free processes. So that can be done, but it needs a closer collaboration so that we go to government and speak on one language. The issue of law reform, yes, the public reform, which was signed this week, is saying let's repeal the whole act, because the the act has so many areas that are gray, even if we amend. But the way government has said is amend it quickly and then immediately start the process of the repealing the whole act. So should we come together, mobilize resources for the total reform, then we can do it. But maybe resources would be a stumbling block. We are going to share with
Should
all
be winding
civil
up.
society
Yes.
the NGO Act Amendment Bill 2020. It is a build on the 2018, because the time we brought out the 2018 was very unpopular. So we have just revised. It's not a new bill. Take me right there. It's not a new bill, but a revised one. So it will be shared, and whatever has been done to that, threats. You have to look at NGO board at layers. I would request you to look at NGO board at layers. There's a layer, management level, there's a layer, board, and there is a political layer. At management level, I will only speak for NGO board 2015 to date. We have managed not to take civil society to ransom. We send guidances, we send reminders and the like. But there are different layers that are interested in the sector. So you would hear some of the sentiments coming from a different layer, which is above me. But in our case, we are trying to send notices to NGOs. Image building, NGO board came into being in 2001. There was a vacuum from 2001 to 2015, where the board chair Aaron was just running the board, and they would pair with a minister and go around and the like. So that's the thing we are now struggling to say, how do we clean ourselves up? So help us to rebrand and give us the ideas how we can rebrand. We are in a space of listening. Finally, we are in a government that has given the policy direction, even to NGO board, to listen. So this space, with change of leadership, let's utilize it as civil society. Government is there. Even us in NGO board, we have been told to listen more and take on board the voices that are coming constructively. So it's up to civil society to sit down, come with a constructive feedback. It will be taken on board. Therefore, the space is thriving. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The NGO board is more than ever willing to listen to constructive criticism, advice from members of the NGO sector. Mr. Kondowe, 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. As I wind up, I would like to focus on a few issues. I think the whole discussion is centering around whose interest is the NGO board advancing. I want to reiterate that the NGO board is both a regulator and a protector. And I think this must be understood. In many instances, the NGO board has been more into regulation and very little into being a protector. This is the discourse everywhere else, and that's why even in UK you find government supporting NGOs, but they will always be protected, and the same with South Africa. So I would want to appeal to the NGO board to make sure that they side with the NGO, because they are there to regulate them and to protect them. That is, for me, very critical. Secondly is the issue of who is driving the policy reform. The NGO board is regulating NGOs, and therefore the NGO's constituency must be driving the reform itself. And that's why there is information gap here. We are being told some steps have been taken by government. You can't have reforms which are affecting the sector done by an entity, a different entity altogether. I think this is an issue that the NGO board must address. If there are reforms to do with the NGO sector, let the NGOs fully participate in the reform process. If we do that, we'll be able to promote ownership by all entities. Makumbo was asking to say, I thought we only had 2018. Now we are talking about 2020. It's because in 2018, there were 2018 amendment bill it had contentious issues. And those issues seem to have been addressed behind the curtains. And that might create ownership. So all I'm saying is that let the NGOs on. The NGO board can initiate the process, let the NGOs participate in these issues. On the issue of fees, you are saying from 50, 250 up. It's a good thing. But if the NGO board is accusing NGOs not to comply with the law, the same NGO board is not complying with the law. Because 2 years ago, the court granted an injunction to NGO board, stopping the NGO, the NGO board from implementing the new fees. And currently, the NGO board is already implementing the new fees, which means that the NGO board is not complying with the same law that they're accusing the NGOs not to comply. I think for me, that would be a complete double standards. Can we make sure that we conform to the law so that all of us should be supporters and enforcers of the same law that we want to have? The issue of capacity building, I think the NGO board needs to open up on the issue of duty waivers. The law allows the NGO board to grant waivers to some NGOs. I think there is a bit of information gap, and that is an area that we would want the NGO board to make the information available so that those who want to benefit from this scheme should be able to apply. Currently, I think there's information gap in terms of who is eligible to access. And I think these are critical issues in terms of capacity building. Finally, on the issue of, you spoke about fees, international organizations being a token. Yes, it would be a token to international organizations, on the very fact that international organizations are well resourced. And I think when we're also talking about 1.3 trillion, we need to fully debunk this in terms of how much of the 1.3 trillion is going to a CBO in Mangosh, is going to a local NGO in Chitipa. Because the practice with my few years working in the NGO sector is that a lot of NGOs receive huge sums of money in excess of 2 billion, some 5, some even up to 8, 10 billion a year. But if you look at those resources, very, very little goes to local NGOs and CBOs. And I think that is an area that would want the NGO board to support, and I'm happy as I conclude that you are already initiating a process of better regulating the relationship between international organizations and local organizations, including the CBOs. And I think that is a step that I would encourage the NGO board to continue pursuing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kondowe. And that's how we conclude today's discussion. I should just state again that our discussion centered on the status of the civic space in Malawi, with a theme, detriments to the civic space in Malawi. And I was joined in this discussion up front here by two panelists, Mr. Benedicto Kondowe, Executive Director of the Civil Society Education Coalition, and Mr. Voice Mbone, Chief Executive Officer of the Non-Governmental Organizations Board of Malawi. I have been your host, Alec Ponge. It's my hope that we'll have another discussion on the same topic, because it appears there are a lot of issues which have been left hanging. There are a lot of issues which need to be ironed out. I hope Csec is going to come forward again and sponsor the next debate. Otherwise, I should also thank Csec so much for sponsoring this discussion today. Bye-bye.